warming up a little bit. It's still fairly chilly, it's still fairly breezy, but after a good race yesterday, the GT4 teams are ready to go into battle one more time here on the Championship's first visit to the dunes since 2021. Interesting race yesterday, won on the road by Greg Gilbert and Paul Petit. Greg Gilbert set a new lap record on his way to a win on the road, but he was then given a 5-second penalty for driving erratically, as it was described. In other words, accelerating and braking repeatedly at the end of a safety car procedure. And the 5-second penalty allowed Eric Evans and Marco Signoretti to take a second win of the season. David Anderson and Joe Osborne are trackside, so too lots of fans here, with the top of the dunes being a really good vantage point looking down onto a circuit that presents plenty of challenges for the teams.
Yeah, you can see the wind being one of those challenges as Ziggo Sport flags whipping in the background. At 20 kilometers an hour steady, but the gusts can be anything up to 35, and they blow the sand onto this track, so offline can be very dusty and slippery. There you can see the North Sea front gleaming in the background, but it is only 15.5 degrees here, track temp now up to 30, and here are the 14 corners that make up the Zandvoort circuit.
With the final one being that banked Harry Lyndike corner, turn 3. The Hugenholtz Bock also is banked, and there's quite a lot of undulation around this circuit as well. You think of Holland being a flat country, but actually there is quite a little bit of rise and fall to this circuit, and it's one that the teams have enjoyed racing at thus far. It seemed to go really well for the Ford Mustang yesterday. Eric Evans, Marco Signoretti victorious, and Eric Evans will do the second stint today. That means he can talk to Alex Ligui.
A quick chat with Eric here. Eric, you and Marco did a great job yesterday. So what's the plan of attack today? We know that the Audi's very strong, but the Mustang's looking good.
Yeah, no, I think the plan of attack is same thing as yesterday. Just get in the groove, let the race come to us, and Marco's going to leave some rubber on the rim for me, and we'll try to close it out very strong. I think that was one of our strengths yesterday, was our pace on the older tire. Helped us catch, get into the 5-second window when they got a penalty. So I think that's something we're going to look forward to doing today, is just keep rubber on it and keep it ready for the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked good under braking as well. And like we just discussed, the weather's changed a little bit, which will impact things. Have you made any setup tweaks, or really will it just be about tire management today?
No, we've made a couple little subtle changes just to help the tire wear even more, but it's all about keeping the tire ready to go at the end of the race. And yeah, it's nicer weather, so I'm happy about it. Everyone seems to have a little bit more of a smile with less coats on, so that's what we like to see.
Best of luck, boys.
Eric Evans, Marco Signoretti then, one on the road at Paul Ricard, one on corrected times here yesterday. That Academy Motorsport Mustang just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. That's the other car that's had an outright win this year, the Audi R8 of Robert Consani, who will start, and Benjamin Lariche, the two team speed car Audis at the front, different colour schemes, but the same French team that operates them. And Consani and Lariche have been together as a partnership now for many seasons, and they know this car inside out. They seem to have been racing it together forever. Yeah,
Consani there in shot, a very spectacular driver. Car always seems to be very tail happy, and that's the kind of theme that he wants to continue, I'm sure. Both cars on the front row, like you said, from the same team. Will they have a plan? Will they have a predetermined point of acceleration? Of course, the driver should wait for the lights to go, but if they can judge it and get the jump on it, is there a plan where this car is going to tuck in to the inside behind the sister car, or is it going to try and brave it around the outside, and is it no holes barred and they're the biggest rivals rather than being the biggest mates?
There is the car penalised yesterday, the Audi of Paul Petit. He will start. Jan Duran, Hadrian David's Toyota Supra came here championship leader. They're on row 2 today.
Looking cool, calm and collected, Jan. But I wonder, what's your strategy off the line? Is it full attack straight away? Will you bide your time and strike when the moment is right?
So it's going to be a long race. The weather is different from yesterday. It's a really competitive grid, so we're going to try and maximize the opportunities.
Knowing who's around you, we know the Audis are really strong here. The Mustang is certainly looking on good form. How about you guys?
Definitely, we're trying to, as I said, maximize what the opportunities we have, and with the Toyota that works really, really well, we're going to try and make it to the grid.
Great, best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Jan Duran, the reigning Iberian supercar champion in a Toyota Supra. He also won the Portuguese Speed Championship last year. But that car yesterday, late race, ended up tangling with another Supra and therefore had quite a lot of front damage. And rather than being a competitive proposition for the result, it was classified in 40th place. So championship-wise, very bad news.
Yeah, and that isn't what they need today. Expect cleaner racing from the front is always easier. As we look at the Ginetta here, drivers ready to go. Sat on the grid for a long time, feels even longer when you're in one of these cars. Windscreen wipers going on car number 3. Interestingly, I'm sure that was a mistake button press, because this is very shunny out here, isn't it? We had some dark clouds over this track earlier, but they seem to have cleared, and looks like we're just here for dry racing.
A lot of attention inevitably surrounding the Indian actor.
The road is calling. Will you make a move? The road is calling. You
all the time. Another car to watch, the BMW. Benjamin Lesser and Ricardo van der Ende sharing number 17 BMW. Benjamin is with Alex.
Hello, Benjamin. As always, tyre management is a key topic here at Zandvoort, with the conditions being slightly different and also what you know of the race yesterday. Talk me through what you think is going to be the biggest challenge when it comes to tyre deg here.
Yeah, I think in terms of tyre degradation, we know what to do. We have been on a good spot since last year for that. So yeah, we just continue to do what we are used to.
You're certainly turning into a bit of a consistent team, which is always a great position to be in. Your teammate obviously knows the circuit very, very well. What have you learned from him, and how much of an edge does that give you as a team, or is it not huge when you're all at such a high level?
Yeah, I know the track very well also, because I used to make a lot of TCR here. But for sure, Ricardo has found something in the chicane that I still don't have, so I'm still working on it. The chicane, yeah, corner 11, 12.
Okay.
He's very fast there.
Interesting, thank you.
One to watch, therefore, Ricardo van der Ende's line through the chicane in the second stint. As you look there at Will Orton in the number 74 Aston Martin, the racing spirit of Le Mans car. And a very, very busy grid as you look down. 10 different manufacturers represented, 26 teams, drivers from 26 different nationalities, 43 cars, although we only got 42 to the start yesterday. We were one BMW down. Michael Laboda should be on the grid today, hopefully. But again, I fear there was a gap at the very back. But even so, it's a very, very busy circuit. Actually, though, yesterday's race didn't quite have the carnage you might have anticipated. There was a red flag, but that was more because of a big whack against a barrier, and the race director didn't want people to spend their entire stint behind a safety car, stopped it, got the barriers repaired, and then they could go racing, which was a good move.
Yep, it definitely was the right thing to do from a spectator's perspective as well as the drivers. I always think with these format weekends where there's 2 races, the drivers know that if they have a big shunt in race 1, they're not going to make this race in race 2. So there's a slight hesitancy to do crazy things. That now is clear. So are we going to see some more chaos? If you're outside the top 10, what have you got to lose? You're not scoring points anyway. So you might as well just send it 1 minute board. Those final mechanics will be leaving. The engines will be fired up. 21 rows of cars hurtling into turn 1. They'll probably get up to 200 kilometers an hour on the start lap into that corner, where the apex speed all the way down at 70. So that's where we see so much chaos here at Zandvoort, is turn 1.
So an all Audi front row with Robert Consigny and Paul Petit set to do the first stint. Marco Signoretti, the Canadian driver, lining up 3rd on the grid. 4th on the grid, Jan Duran, from whom we heard earlier. Ethan Gialdini's Ginessa 5th, Will Orton 6th. Good qualifying by him. Roberto Farias Aston is 7th on the grid. Gabriele Piano, one to watch from 8th. Champion of years past. Benjamin Lesser 9th. And Charlie Hart, up from Ginetta Junior Racing in the UK, 10th in the RAFA Racing by Racelab McLaren. The Lotus, always a car to watch. And it is going to be Alberto Nasca to start in the sole Lotus on the grid. Good to have that variety. So the Audis, rather dwarfed by the Ford Mustang, set off on this formation lap. 60 minutes of racing, pit window 25 to 35 minutes. Mandatory stop has to be 78 seconds line to line. And the green flag releases the cars then, with the sun coming out, temperatures finally starting to creep up. And it's going to be a lively race for sure. Robert Consonny then starts on pole position with Paul Petit alongside. Then you've got Marco Signoretti and Jan Duran on the second row. 3 different brands then in the top 4. Fifth on the grid is where you will find the Ginetta in the hands of Ethan Gialdini, and the best of the Aston Martins, Will Orton's car, lining up alongside 6th. Roberto Faria is 7th on the grid, the UK-based Brazilian. Gabriele Piana for Borissan Automotive in the BMW is next, ahead of Benjamin Lecen, and then Charlie Hart racing here for the first time. Julius Dinnerson is on the next row alongside Guy Orbag, then Baudouin Detu and Pedro Ebrahim in the second Borissan BMW. Alberto Nasca's Lotus and Michael Haberans with another of the Mustangs comes next, ahead of Mackenzie Cresswell, new to GT4 this year. Alex Papadopoulos alongside him. Then Bas Visser and Matteo Nombolo on the 10th row of the grid. Row 11 is where Mark Kastelich lines up alongside Gustavo Xavier. The 12th row, the Ginetta of Thibaut Mojica and Alexander Weintraub's Mirage Racing Aston Martin. Next, this is Cindy Gooday's Toyota Supra and Tudor Tudoracci's Billy Motorsport entry. Row 14, Anthony Debarn, twice a winner in AM, and Hans Honlund going solo alongside him. The 15th row is Fabien Duffieux and Miguel Cristobal, ahead of Nico Farraran, who has had a Pro-Am win this year. Lucas Suliano is alongside, ahead of the Pro-Am winners yesterday. Hendrik Still, Joachim Bolting, the start driver. Alongside it is Daniel Nielsen. Row 18, Keith Gatehouse's Mercedes and Paolo Maloney, showing with San Davide. The 19th row, Mats Olsen and yesterday's AM winners, Max Kronberg, Daniel Blickler will start, ahead of Philippe Talani and Joachim Valder. Then Mikael Brunhagen and the celebrated Indian actor Ajit Kumar, with, if it is there, the BMW of Mikhail Loboda to round out the grid. But I rather fear that that might not be on track, seeing that it missed yesterday's race as well. That's the dad and lad Meloni BMW. Paolo Maloney, Davide Maloney, and this is the view on board 32. Joachim Bolting, who is becoming quite a character, and he and Hendrik Still had a second Pro-Am win yesterday.
Yeah, just to remind everyone at home, they're not allowed to use tyre ovens in this championship, so the drivers have got to generate all these tyre temps. That's why we're seeing so much weaving. They have to stop weaving as they get to turn 11 where they are now, and that's where we'll see them then form up 2 by 2 as they exit the chicane here at turn number 12.
And you can see just now how busy that road is as they get themselves into order then, coming now up towards the exit of 13 towards 14. The back of the grid, they're still playing catch-up. This is Ajit Kumar, who is going to start on the final row of the grid. But for him, it's not so much about the result, it's about learning the tracks, the cars, the style of European racing. It's a big, big commitment to come and do a championship like this. He has specifically asked to do it on his own. He wants as much track time as he can, and he is learning all the time, no question about it. So we're ready to go racing. 60 minutes are on the clock. Nervous co-drivers like Ricardo van der Ende look on in the pit lane as Robert Consonny and Paul Petit and the Audis then are going to go toe-to-toe on the run down towards the first corner. It's race 4 of the year in the GT4 European Series. A little bit untidy maybe on the grid, with the outside of the road not really going across the grid markings as they should, but the lights go green, it is blast off, and Robert Consonny's car hugs the inside line, trying to make sure nobody can go round the inside, but round the outside goes Paul Petit. Not a great start by Consonny, and a very good getaway has been made then by the from the 4th row, Roberto Faria, Mirage Racing Aston Martin. So Faria has been dynamite through the traffic as you look down from the drone. That is turn 2 into 3. So it is Paul Petit in the lead. Up into 2nd place goes Consonny. 3rd looks like being Faria as we accelerate now up towards Hunsrück for the first time. Faria
from 7th to 3rd, now getting charged by Duran, who gets that place back. So down to 4th for Faria. That was a great start. He bolted across from the inside pit wall all the way to the outside. Some damage there on the Mustang. Has it been hit on the side? Looks like the sill is hanging off. Not too structural, but the Ginetta now looking to the inside. Big versus Little, who's going to come out on top. The Ginetta now balked and is going to get overtaken, I think, by that BMW into turn number 9.
Yeah, Gabriele Piana up the inside. The Mustang then with that sort of tin can effect. The bodywork and the metalwork peeled back. Charlie Hart's McLaren going a little bit wide as well there, kicking up the dirt as they wriggle up through turn 10 for the first time. You've also got in the mix the 81, the sister McLaren of Julius Dinnerson at the wheel of it, as Paul Petit then won on the road yesterday, then got the time penalty, leads at the moment. Second it is Constantly, third is Jan Duran in the Supra. So as you say, Farrier, good start, but he's been shuffled back in the pack over the course of the opening lap as the very crowded pack dives down towards turn 11. The Audis then make the run up towards turn 13, start under investigation, but that is the norm these days, just to make sure that everybody did it correctly. The Mustang on the inside there, Michiel Haverantz, number 1, looking to try to gain ground. So for Team Speedcar, they're living up to the name because they've got a 1-2 at the end of the lap. It is Petit ahead of Constantly, whose start was not that rapid.
No, I thought Petit, that's where the investigation could be as well. They were not over the grid boxes, the outside line, and that green Audi laying down some rubber tyres, still coming up to temperature, but they meant to go above the grid boxes, and he did not. That start from Farrier as well will get some attention just purely on how good it was. I thought we were going to get a Newton's cradle effect as he shot across the track. I thought it was going to bounce cars out the way, but he found a perfect Aston Martin vantage gap and threaded that needle beautifully.
At the end of the opening lap, the leading Pro-Am entry was Alberto Nasca's Lotus. It was Anthony de Barn leading in Am. This is for silver as well as for outright, and the two Audis now getting on with it. Constantly, surprisingly, given that his background is in rallying, wasn't that quick out of the blocks on cold tyres on the first lap, but now he's got into his stride. He's done the absolute best first sector, so he's coming back at the race leader. As a little bit further down there, you've got the number 17 BMW, Benjamin Lassen. He has dropped places on this lap. Lassen has had a drama somewhere because he's lost 4 places or so.
Yeah, he was very strong at the end of the race yesterday. He's about to lose another one, isn't he, to that NM Racing Mercedes there. Go side by side all the way through turn 10. Big slide, which then forced a bit of contact. Now they're still banging doors all the way down to 11. And there's a Porsche trying to get in on the Act. Are they going to go 3 wide?
Let's see, Guy Albert comes up the inside line. The Israeli driver goes through, then jumps 1, jumps 2. That forces Lassen wide across the gravel. He harpoons the Porsche. The Cayman gets turned around, and that's in a really awkward place. It's been hit again. You can see the rear damage, and the yellow flags are out. There's debris on the racetrack, but that has done a lot of rear damage. There was one impact, as you saw, that turned it around. It then got hit again as cars tried to scatter. That could end up triggering the safety car as the leaders go by. The Elite Motorsport McLaren was the one that collected it, so that is Mackenzie Cresswell heading for the pit lane with big front damage. Last year's Silver Cup champions, Elite Motorsport, having a tough time this year. Safety car deployed as predicted.
Yeah, and you could see it happening. 3 wide was always going to be high risk. I feel sorry for the Porsche that's got big damage because he did so well. He just went in a bit too deep, which forced the BMW into the gravel trap, and then Lassen just didn't get enough speed out and almost didn't predict how much grip he had lost by being on the gravel. Sideswiped the 31 car, and then that Elite McLaren, which has got all the damage on the front right, has caused all of the damage to the rear of that Porsche. But that was a big impact, and yeah, from a move that looked like it was going to go very well for the 31 car, and that's definitely day done for Elite Motorsport as well. Running number 78, but could be the number 1 car because they are the reigning champions.
And they were the kind of innocent party of all of that. It wasn't their accident, so to speak. You know, it had all been triggered well before Mackenzie Cresswell got to the corner. He gets out of the car. The damage is sufficient to render that out of the race. So the safety car is now deployed. Paul Petit had got a little bit of an advantage, but everyone's going to bunch up. Safety car scramble within the first 3 laps rather than going full course yellow, for example. So the race order, Paul Petit in the green Audi, the multicoloured one behind Robert Constantly. Third is Jan Duran's Toyota Supra. 4th is Roberto Farrier's Aston Martin. In 5th place, Will Orton's Aston. And 6th, Marco Signoretti's Damage Mustang. 7th is Gabriele Piana, BMW. 8th, Ethan Gialdini, Ginetta. 9th, Pedro Ibrahim, BMW. 10th, Julius Dinnerson, McLaren. My fear about that Academy Motorsport Mustang is that if that bodywork continues to just hang off the side of it, it could be a danger to somebody else, and the scrutineers might want it in. And then you hemorrhage a load of places and track position. And if the team is going to be summoned in, better they were summoned in now while the field is tightly bunched than when the gaps start to open up, perhaps. But is the bodywork still hanging off the side of the car? Yes, it is. Not great, that. It needs somehow to part company.
Yeah, it's a lightweight component is the only thing they've got going in their favour. So if it does come off, I actually don't see it doing any damage to any other cars. But yeah, it doesn't look great. Then maybe Signoretti, you can see it there, is just the side, so you can see the impact just under the car number on the left. and hopefully they don't know which car it is race control, because they can't read the number clearly enough, and they don't know who to give the flag to. But
now, that's interesting. Benjamin Lassane in. We'd seen him hemorrhaging places, but a new front left tyre going on. That doesn't look as though it's punctured, but maybe he had a vibration or felt there was something wrong, so they bailed under the safety car, trying to rebuild the race. That's a car that needs rebuilding. They can't even get the wheel off the McLaren, such is the damage.
Yeah, the front wheel arch is pushed all the way back over there, and there's bits hanging off it. Interesting from the Sen, because it was the contact on the other side. I thought that would be damaged with the contact from that Porsche. Got spun around at the chicane, but yeah, they're not looking strong in that 17 BMW.
No, because as I say, they've been junking places even before that incident, so they'll fall to the back of the pack. Let's have another look at the start here. Keep an eye on Roberto Faria then. He dives to the middle, forces Will Orton out of his way. I'm coming through, says Faria. And he's certainly got a heavy right foot, hasn't he? Because he was able to gobble up places all the way down to turn 1. So Paul Petit in the lead, and Faria briefly up into second place.
Yeah, he sent it round the outside, then it favours the inside on exit. Duran has a good couple of corners to actually get up to third position as we go on board of the drone. The elite car still in one piece at this point behind the Lotus as they snake through the Kinkerts just before 2 into 2. Still 2 by 2, looking relatively clean. RAFA McLaren there, look at one of those BMWs to the inside, gets a move done, but then comes back, and we've got a red flag again. So similar, there's the damage on the Ford from Orton there, wasn't it? Side-to-side contact, and here's the big damage, why we've got the red flag. Lariche on the gravel trap, not enough grip, side swipes the Porsche, rotates it, and then look at the elite McLaren, 4 cars back there, the second yellow car. He's got completely blindsided at this point. He'll see everyone checking up, and he's got to decide, where do I go, left, right, and unfortunately he decides middle, and there's a Porsche came and sat there. That Lotus just scrapes through, and watch that impact there. Cars destroyed on impact.
It doesn't look that hard an impact. It's more of a glancing blow, but the damage, as we've seen, is severe. Red flag has indeed been shown. The cars come down the pit lane, and I'm suspecting this is not just to move a car, it's also to sweep all the debris off the racetrack, but I can't think there's anything else that we've missed. There's no barrier damage that we've seen. They haven't had another car off the road anywhere. So down they come to the pit lane. Of course, the race director keen to give people as much opportunity to race rather than spend endless laps trundling around behind the safety car, but that suggests it's going to take quite a long time to move the Porsche. Now, with that impact, maybe there's something that's seized in the transmission that's making the recovery that bit longer.
Yeah, possibly. They had the telehandler there very quickly, didn't they? So all cars into pit lane following safety car. Interestingly, 2 interesting points that will only interest me. Red flag is 46 seconds later in the race than yesterday's one for some consistency, and race control haven't set part firm conditions like yesterday. And yes, you're correct, David. Looks like they're struggling to move that Porsche, basically an automatic gearbox in it, so if it's lost power and it's stuck in gear, then it's like the rear wheels are welded stuck, and they become very difficult to move without causing further damage to the car.
So everybody then down the pit road, and the race officials will try and get the track cleared as quickly as possible, and then be able to release the car. So a red flag, the race is suspended rather than stopped. So you come into the pit lane in race order, and you leave the pit lane in race order. The clock stops now, and when the safety car takes the field back on track, the clock will restart. So rather than going round and round and round and just wasting time behind the safety car, the race is suspended, track is cleared, and it gives people the opportunity to carry on racing.
Yeah, you can see how much damage on the back of that Porsche, couldn't you? There's the rear part of the subframe damaged, the exhaust damaged. That'll be a big repair job for the team when they get that back to base. But Marshall's already on the scene and doing an efficient job getting the straps around the wheels. So it looks like they're going to do a full lift where they will hoist the car fully up in the air, put it on the back of the flatbed, and we should be able to get going, I would imagine, in the next 10 minutes. And the countdown procedure is a 10-minute procedure. So look for the race control message of 10 minutes until restart, and then we will start the countdown to get this race underway again.
That shot from the drone, great one, showing not only the colours involved, but also the different shapes in GT4. It was a slow burn as a category, was GT4, but it after the manufacturers got involved, absolutely soared. Manufacturers seeing it as another area to sell cars. Initially, it was one homologated tuner, if you like, that took a car, made it into a GT4 racer. But once the manufacturers came on board, with the likes of Porsche and Mercedes and BMW all providing cars, the popularity of GT4 has just gone sky high. All cars now are in part fair make conditions, meaning the teams can't touch them or do any work on them. Maybe in the final 5 minutes they will be allowed to do so, just to make sure that the drivers are ready for the resumption of the race. As Joe Osborne made the point yesterday, you don't know how long this interruption is going to be. Now we have the 10-minute notification, but you don't want to be sitting there with the ignition on, draining the battery just so you can hear radio messages. So really the teams do ultimately need access to the drivers, if only to communicate with them about what happens next.
Yeah, and then they'll want to plug in the auxiliary battery as well to stop the alternator having to work too hard upon fire up to get the energy back into the car battery, essentially. So the teams have their procedures. The other thing, the drivers are going to get pretty warm. All the heat soak out of these cars now. Everything would have been fully up to temperature, engine, brakes, radiators, and that all then just comes into the car, and you're sat there in your fireproof. So you've got the fireproof Nomex underwear, so the leggings, the socks, the tops, and then you've got the race suit, which are much, much thicker now. Since we had that fiery accident at Bahrain with Roman Grosjean in F1, everything is added a layer effectively. So you are wearing what you would wear probably on the street when it was 0 to -5 degrees Celsius. You're sat there in a race car that could be anything up to 45 degrees centigrade right now.
So the drivers are keen to get going, if only to get a bit of airflow through. While we have the cars sitting in the pit lane, let's go back to the pit lane. Alex Legui has caught up with Roberto Faria, who was in jolly form yesterday and has had a good first couple of laps of the race.
Roberto, that was an epic start. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, I told you the plan was to come fast in the race, so it was a good start. I went from P7 to P3. Unfortunately, the Toyota did a very nice overtake in the banking corner, but we are P4 now, and for sure we can fight for the podium. I said in the yesterday we would fight for podium, and here we are.
I know, you did say. Red flag, what difference does this make to you mentally? What's your strategy when you go back out again?
That just means it's going to have another restart, which I can make more positions.
Time to do it again. Well, that's true. If you do on based on previous form, then you'll be straight to the top, won't you? Easy.
Yeah, now it's a bit harder because the safety car is restart. It's not the race start, but still, it's going to be fun. I mean, now it's a time for everybody to cool down a bit, cool down the tires, so everybody needs to focus on warming up again. And let's see. I think we can have a fast car today, and for sure we can fight for podium.
Good. Nicely done. I'll see you there.
See you there.
Now, if you were Academy Motorsport, you might be quite keen to try and ask a race official, am I allowed to rip this little bit of bodywork off the side of the car before we go back out? You know, safety and all that. There's a McLaren I noticed with a folded mirror. They might be asking for the same allowance, because if they can get it done now, it saves Academy a pit stop to have to sort out the damage.
Yeah, we saw RAFA Racing having to do some rear-end adjustments to Aston Miller's McLaren yesterday, didn't we, during the red flag? So I think they will be allowed, and it looks like it will be a simple pull-off. And expensive components on these race cars, and you get them treated like scrap cars. That side still on a Mustang, I would guess, is probably anywhere near €1,000. So they might try and save it for another day.
True enough. So the countdown continues. Our 10-minute notification came at 12:20, and it's very nearly 12:24 local time. So we are not too far away from the cars firing up, going back out again. It will be the safety car that leads them out. As soon as it crosses pit exit, the race is back underway. And I think it'll be, 2 laps? One to get everybody out, one to get them up to speed, and then let them go.
Yep, and so it'll be a hard fight again, and that's what Farrier is saying. He's enjoying that because it bunches everybody up. The only thing he'll have to contend with is he has got that Mustang of Signoretti behind, which was very quick at the end of the straight into turn 1, where this camera is positioned. So expect to see some overtaking there on the restart. The other factor to consider is who led after the red flag yesterday and had the misdemeanor with the safety car. It was that car that's currently in the lead, but the teammate, Gilvey, not Petit. But that will be telling to see if he goes with a different strategy.
Absolutely right. Let's go back down to the pit lane and rejoin Alex.
Well, a bit of contact on the right-hand side. Talk us through what happened from your perspective.
Yeah, turn 3, the banking was fully alongside the Mustang. I don't know if you just didn't see me, but yeah, a little bit of a door rub. Car feels good, still feels strong, so just looking forward to see what we can do.
Okay, good. Yeah. Was it feeling strong before that as well? What's your thoughts on the rest of the race?
Yeah, I mean, the cars felt mega all weekend, really. Qualifying, it's my best qualifying in this championship, so super happy with that, and look forward to see what we can do. Car still feels mega, and we'll hand over to David in the best position possible.
Good stuff. Nicely done.
Will Orton, then the British driver who came from Ginetta Racing through the GT4 class of British GTs, raced in the mini challenge as well, and quite a few of the teams asking if they can do a bit of running repair work. Part Ferme is open, so that's exactly what the teams wanted. They can sort out any damage without having to make an extra pit stop.
Yeah, and the 5-minute boards at the same point, so now 4.5 minutes away from a restart. And I kind of agree with Will Orton that he was fully alongside. He got to that fully alongside position because he was going into that corner quickly, and it looked like he almost understeered into the side of the Mustang. That looks like a McLaren splitter to me. I've done enough damage on one of them to recognise it from that tiny bit before we panned back there. And again, the race lab RAFA Racing, that's Gordon there with the tank tape, the most important tool in motorsport.
In fairness, you've done more damage than that, haven't you?
Oh, that's a good day for me.
Yeah, exactly.
That was well within my allowance at McLaren when I was there as a crash test dummy. But yeah, they just want to take that up so no air gets in that from a drag perspective, but also will hopefully add a bit more structure to it. Splitter very important in the aerodynamics of these cars. If it isn't channeling the air underneath the car, then suddenly you can lose a lot of rear end grip.
So Christopher Campbell is the safety car driver. He awaits the instruction from race control to leave the pit lane. Yesterday it was a bit hesitant because we were told that they were all about to leave the pit lane, and then we went back to a red flag, and it was a miscommunication somewhere, I think, that made the resumption just slightly delayed. But the teams will know exactly what to expect, because this was what we had yesterday after contact very early on in the race, and it was more to repair a barrier yesterday than remove a car. But it did mean that the driver's got a sensible amount of racing mileage. Yeah, the point that Joe was making a little moment or two ago about number 8 Audi getting its time penalty yesterday, it was the other driver of 8, Greg Gilver, who coming down towards turn 11 was accelerating and braking, and that was deemed to be erratic. That was the word used by the stewards, and so a 5-second penalty came for that. Let's go back down to Alex. She's in BMW land now.
Gabriele, your car is looking very strong. You're right in the mix. What can you do after a restart?
Of course, obviously, we will try to move forward. And I also look forward to what the race direction will say, because I think in the cars in front, nobody drove through the starting box. And that's kind of mandatory to do. So we will see. Normally, if you respect the rules, then they should all get a penalty. So I am not wishing this on them, but clearly they did not do what was prescribed, so I don't think it's all right.
Very interesting to hear it from a perspective a little bit further back. What do you think you can do after the restart?
We have a very strong pace normally, but unfortunately we are a little bit weak on our straight line performance compared to the other manufacturers, so overtaking will be a big challenge. But we try to be clever, play a little bit the long game, and see where we are after 1 hour.
Interesting. Thank you, madam.
That point Gabriele Piana makes there about the start was something that Joe was saying about one side of the grid not being over the grid lines, and that is part of why the start is always looked at. It's one of the rules. Race directors want a tidy grid, a tidy start, and it did not come out like that. So it's the Petit, Duran, Orton side, Gabriele Piana on that side of the grid, but doing it correctly, going over the grid lines and aware of what was going on ahead of him. Yeah, and that bright blue BMW really illustrated it, because there was a backdrop going over the grid boxes where the 3 cars in front of him of Orton, Duran and that lead Audi, Petit, were not. And I think it's going to be a penalty. I think you've got to respect the wishes of the race direction, and they did not do that. And yeah, Piana saying he doesn't wish them a penalty, but you can't wait to see them get the penalty effectively. He's trying to sound like the good guy, but as a driver, you don't care how people get punished as long as it's not you. So we are into the final couple of minutes before we are back and running. So the safety car will turn on the lights, it will leave the pit lane, engines will fire, and as soon as the cars exit pit lane, the race is back underway, as in the clock will carry on ticking down. 52 minutes, 29 seconds remain. The pit window doesn't change in this respect. Were the safety car to be out as the window approached, then it would be delayed, but doesn't affect it in this instance. And it means that Paul Petit will lead Robert Consonnet and Jan Duran back on track. Roberto Faria fourth from Marco Signoretti, Will Orton. Gabriele Piano, you've just heard from, is seventh. Efan Gialdini is eighth. Pedro Ibrahim is ninth. The race is back on. And 10th is Julius Dinesen. So we are back under safety car conditions while the field is led around. And yesterday it was 2 laps, one to bring them round out of the pits, one quicker lap to get the tyres up to temperature, and then we go back into battle.
Yeah, exactly that. And who will fancy their chances? That's what we've got to try and weigh up now. I do think that Mustang is going to be potentially strong, but it's all about the restart. And the two McLarens of RAFA running 10th and 11th. Will they be able to work together to try and get up the field? As we see Jochen Bolting leaving in that beautiful clown livery Porsche. And yeah, when you've got 42 cars to get back on track, it does take some time to get them all going and at the right speed. But what a sight and what a strength European GT4 is at. Absolutely right. I always say it was a slow burn, but now that the interest is there and the manufacturer interest is there, it's a brilliant category created by SRO. So the car's out on track. Paul Petit then the race leader. And the clock carries on ticking, as you can see. We're under safety car conditions as the cars now come up through that little kink at turn 1B, if you like, then right at 2, left at 3 on the banking. The Hugenholz-Bock, named after John Hugenholz, who designed the circuit, the original circuit, as he also did Suzuka and Harama. He did pretty well with the 3 tracks he designed. I've driven all 3, and I'd actually struggle to tell you which one's my my favourite. Suzuka is well up there, but Harama doesn't get used as much these days. But I remember racing there back in FIA GT3 days, 2010. That was, and brilliant circuit. And yeah, you won't find a driver that doesn't like this one here at Zandvoort either. So the field will be picking up pace on the next lap. This is the view on board with Jochen Bolting, who is wheeling the car left and right to get the warmth back into the tyres, to get the pressures back up again as well. And anything, of course, that they built into the rubber in those first couple of laps really wasted as they were sitting in the pit lane, so they need to do it all over again. And of course, they're going to have to be careful on the restart. You've heard Roberto Faria's attitude, which is to push and gain places, but equally you want to make sure you've got the traction in the tyres. Yes, and that's the hard bit, and these tyres have got to get all the way to the end of the race. So that's where it's a team sport, because you can push like crazy, pumping some qualifying style laps and take out the majority of the life out of the tyres, but then your teammate will suffer. And you might feel like the hero in this race, but he will then do the same back to you at a later date, no doubt. Now there is number 17, Benjamin Lessen, in last place. But he's got rather stuck because Ajith Kumar has fallen off the back of the train, and there's nothing that Lessen can do to overtake before you get to the timing line. Now have a look around the racetrack. There are the leaders going up towards turn 4, and Benjamin Lessen's BMW is only just coming up to the line. So with respect to Ajith Kumar, he needs to get a wriggle on because he's fallen a long, long way off the back of the queue. There are other stragglers as well. But the field at the moment is rather strung out. So the safety car, when the... Oh, hello, we've got Roberto Faria getting onto the dirt there, coming out of Hunsrück. When we are ready to go, then the safety car may have to really stack people up just so we've got one long line, not too many stragglers. Yeah, it's the problem, the safety car being so fast, that Maserati MC20. He will then back them up when he's ready to turn those lights out, and then the lead car becomes the safety car. Safety car in this lap. So we are going to go racing at the end of the lap. The Maserati safety car then with Audi 1, Audi 2, Toyota 3, Aston Martin 4, Ford 5, Aston Martin 6, BMW 7, Ginetta 8th, 9th BMW, McLaren 10th, all the variety of the GT4 grid. And Roberto Faria there looks still weaving around. Behind him in the queue, Marco Signoretti. Other drivers watching the pictures, looking at the data down in the pit lane, ready to go racing once again. Petit's not really slowed them down yet. The gap to the safety car is still quite small, so he looks like he's going to go for it now. He's slowing them down. When's he going to accelerate? It's quite hard here at Zandvoort, because if you go early, you give a big slipstream all the way to the start line. But if you don't go at the last apex here at 13 coming up, then it's easy to be red. At the moment, Consani's too far back. If Petit was to go, he would get a jump. I think he should get on the throttle now. He has really slowed them down. Look at the concertina.
So race leader Paul Petit in the green Audi then leads them, trickles them into turn 13. And of course now he floors the throttle, tries to get the jump on everybody else as they blast back into business. Paul Petit controls the start. He's managed to pull out 2 lengths over Robert Consani on the run now through turn 14. Down towards turn 1 they go. We are back racing in the dunes then with 47.5 minutes on the clock. Paul Petit leads the field, but Consani has managed to get right back onto his tail. He goes one way, goes the other, down to turn 1. Jan Duran is still there in third in the Toyota. Fourth, look, it's Faria. Others are being heroic further back in the queue. The Lotus of Alberto Nasca under attack. Michael Haverans in the Ford Mustang is in that mix as well. You're kind of at the moment in about 11th place as you look down from the drone as the cars go towards turn 2. They're nose to tail for the lead at 3. The Audi's just slightly edging away from Jan Duran's Toyota. Petit leads Consani.
Oh, side-by-side contact there. Piana against Ghilardini in the Ginetta, squeezing each other all the way. The BMW is through. There's some very average safety car restarts there, 2 bigger gaps.
The race leader has picked up a 5-second penalty to be served at the pit stop. A start procedure infringement. So the race leading car, just like yesterday, is going to have to serve a penalty. This time they can get rid of it in the pit stop rather than it being applied post-race. But Paul Petit, there he is, under attack. He's going to have to push and try and build the lead.
I get the penalty. I'm surprised that the 87, the 74, the 2 cars directly behind who copied him have got the same, have race control. See Consani, get a run to the outside here. Is he going to try and send it round the outside of this first part of the chicane? We've seen it go wrong already in this race. He thinks better off it and tucks in behind. But the moment that lead car is the only car with a penalty.
So Jan Duran in the Toyota Supra there in third place. Roberto Faria has not yet made the expected progress, has he? But the 2 Audis absolutely nose to tail as they come now up towards turn 14. This is going to be the end of lap number 7. So it is Petit ahead of Consani as they run now up towards the timing line. Consani looking very, very threatening indeed as far as the race lead is concerned. Down they head in towards the turn 1. Tarzan hairpin. Consani is not only up alongside, he's got the best line and he's got the lead as well going into the hairpin. Nicely done. He may not have made the best of original starts, but Robert Consani now has managed to get himself into the lead of the race. Paul Petit drops back into second, and Jan Duran is closing up as well in that Toyota in third place. It's still the Lotus, you can see there, the yellow Lotus leading in Pro-Am. Alberto Nasca and Anthony DeBarn's BMW is the car currently leading AM. There is another penalty. Benjamin Lessen in the BMW, who's already had to pit for a tyre change, will get a 10-second stop and go for causing that collision.
Yeah, I agree with that penalty also. It was a great move by Consani, considering they're the same car from the same team. Seemed like he had a good amount more speed. The slipstream obviously working for him. He was 2 kilometers an hour quicker as he went over the start line, and he converted that move as we see these cars bounce over the curbs. That Lotus still looking very low on the rear. That's been a common theme for their setup this weekend. And Consani is pulling away, isn't he? Duran is all over the back of that green Audi of Petit, which does have that 5-second penalty, which is going to drop them down the order at this point to a long way, as there's the car with the penalty for causing that accident, which ultimately then caused the red flag.
So Benjamin Lessen, he's trying to rebuild his race, but there's the stop and go, on top of which there is the regulation pit stop. So this is a race to forget for those two, Benjamin Lessen and Ricardo van der Ende, the Dutch-Belgian partnership. Van der Ende, the Dutchman, Belgian driver, Benjamin Lessen behind the wheel as the cars then now accelerate again out of turn 14. Paul Petit's Audi starting to fade a little bit, isn't it? As you say, he's dropped back from Consani. He's certainly under attack from the Toyota of Jan Duran. And look, he's the cork in the bottle. He's got them all stacked up behind him. Duran, Faria, Signoretti, small gap, Orton, then Piana 7th, Gialdini 8th, Dinesen is 9th, Ibrahim 10th as they round Tarzan. And the Lotus, Alberto Nasca at the wheel of it, still there in 13th. Quite a long way up the road from Alexander Weintraub as far as the Pro-Am lead situation is concerned.
Yeah, it's amazing. He's almost considered an AM, considering his speed NASCAR there. He's mixing it with some very quick silver drivers around him. The Aston Martin looking to get a run on him. Detroit now going to go side by side. It's very narrow through this bit, flashing the headlights. Makes a racing driver feel better when it's doing it, but it makes you pretty angry when you're the one getting flashed. So might harness a bit more energy for that. Lotus darting around, looking a bit lively. If the car wants rotation, it's definitely got plenty of it.
Replay here of a big lockup from Ajith Kumar coming down towards turn 11. The good news is that that was into the tarmac area, not to the gravel. But then, with a flat spotted tyre, he had another drama going into Tarzan hairpin. So Ajith Kumar, oh dear, the tyre has now gone bang by the look of it. So those two big lockups have ultimately led to the demise of the tyre, and that shredded some bodywork as well. And unless he can limp it back, that's the end.
Yeah, it should be possible in a GT3 car or GT4 for that matter. That the car's got ABS, so unless it's been switched off by the driver, that's an issue either with the ABS itself, but of course that is linked to a wheel speed sensor. There's one on each corner of the car, so if one of those fails, the default, and then we're in the gravel with the 60 Porsche as well. Which corner is that? Is that turn 8 potentially?
It's Gustavo Xavier at the wheel of the car, and he's well and truly beached. And there's another car in strife, which is Thibaut Mojica's Ginetta. That, I think, has got a rear puncture as well, hasn't it, on the right-hand side. The car looks low, so you know what's heading here, don't you? Which is really bad news for Paul Petit. We're going to go full course yellow to neutralise the pace of the cars, get everybody slowed down, and then Joel Doval, the race director, will decide what to do from there. So full course yellow is coming. Everybody has to slow down on instruction. They get a 20-second, a 10, and then now full course yellow is called. So everybody has to slow down to that delta speed. We've got a car to move. There might be a bit of debris on the racetrack as well, but Gustavo Xavier well and truly beached in the gravel. If they can hoik that car out quickly and not lose too much time, that's good news. But of course, if we go safety car, all the gaps closed. That's bad news for Paul Petit.
Yeah, exactly, and it naturally bunches them up just before the pit window would open as well, which creates even more chaos, not just for the drivers, but for the teams to have to service these cars, get the driver change done, and not get boxed in as well. Still just trying to work out where that 60 car is beached. I think it's on the next right-hander to driver's left. It's a game I like to play, try and guess the corner from as limited resource as possible. And yes, I was correct. Thank you very much, David, for your congratulations. Telehandler.
Take them as implied.
Thank you. Yes. I appreciate that. I'll put it on the very short CV I possess. But yeah, you can see the telehandler already there. That beam that's preset on the end of its arm will plug into the roll cage as the Ginetta's getting a rear right tyre change. Should be able to stay on the lead lap if they can get that job done as quickly as possible.
Right, so Gustavo Xavier in the gravel, and an incident between him and 99 has been noted. 99 is Cindy Goudet's Toyota, so that would suggest that hers is the other car that may have had a significant involvement in this. Let's find out. At the inside she goes, wallop into the Porsche that was very nearly saved, and then it spat Xavier the other way.
Yeah, it was a kind of a lazy effort, I would try and commit. That 60 car left a car width there, so Cindy filled it, and then they both kind of just had the smallest amount of contact possible. As you can see, Cindy's teammate going over to the pit wall to maybe speak to the team. Gabriela Gilkova just seeing, are they going to get a penalty for that? Do they know about it? At the moment, this full course yellow continues, and the race director will be deciding, do we need a safety car after this, or are we going to go straight back to green?
You know, the tradition has been that there has been a safety car to restart the race, but Gustavo Xavier's car is already out of harm's way, so that is looking encouraging as the cars then come up towards the timing line once more. So at the moment the gaps don't come down because we are at the full course yellow delta speed, which is slower than the safety car. The safety car is able to go at what are described as motorway speeds. Now, you might argue that some go quicker on a motorway than others, but the general premise is the safety car can go faster than the regulation speed under a full course yellow. So we await to see whether we can go back to green or whether we need a safety car restart lap. In AM, 17th overall, it is Anthony Debar's BMW leading the way, and they have been winners in 2 of the previous 3 races. Anthony Debarn and Julien Leandri, they won both at Paul Ricard.
Yeah, Debarn's having a stormer, isn't he? He's been quick all season long, and is he going to keep that winning form up? At the moment, you would be mad to bet against it.
Absolutely right. The next of the AMs, Hans Holmlund, who is 10 places back in the queue. So the cars under full course yellow conditions. We are about 3 minutes and a bit away from that pit window opening, and the team's hoping then that they can get back and racing fairly swiftly. The BMW number 17 of Benjamin Lessen has now done its stop-go, incidentally, to get that out of the way as the full course yellow conditions apply, but we are going to go back to safety car look.
Yeah, which will make my next point irrelevant. But the Audis actually had a different sector one time of 0.5 of a second. The green number 8 car was quicker. So even though they're from the same team, should be cruising at 80 kilometres an hour, he somehow found half a second as we do go to safety car. So that 80 kilometres an hour will be rescinded. All the cars will catch up into one long snake. I'll tell you who that does hurt is that green Audi. That 5-second penalty now will hurt so much more because everyone will be much, much closer together when he has to serve it.
And that's going to be done at the pit stop, but it makes the pit stop that 5 seconds longer, whereas the 78 seconds for everybody else is a regulation time. There is Benjamin Lessen. Safety car for him is very good news because it means he can go faster and push on and get back up with everybody else. So the safety car will just do 1 lap to scoop everybody into a line, to bring the speeds up, ready for the restart or the resumption of the race, and that is going to happen just in the nick of time, in a sense. I think 1 more lap would have delayed the pit window, but they're going to go racing this time. The safety car comes out of turn 14. Now, we have on the timing screen safety car in this lap, but has it come in this lap? Let's see. They come up towards the line. Yes, it has. And we are back racing then. The Audis accelerate away. So Robert Constantini just ahead of Paul Petit. Jan Duran is under attack. Roberto Faria is back on his toes on the outside line. So is Gabriele Piana. Look at the blue BMW there, trying to get around the outside of Will Autumn. Side by side, they come off turn 1. And Gabriele Piana goes through, up now into 6th place.
Yeah, that was the world's shortest safety car. That kept some drivers on their toes and some were napping. Look at the McLaren to the inside, Dinson. Then you can see that is a great visual of why the inside doesn't work round that corner. That is the normal racing line. Because there's 90 degrees of banking, you're not manipulating the energy in the car. And that was the world's shortest safety car I've ever seen. 22 seconds of safety car technically. And it's good to get back to racing before the pit window and the second part of the race can come into life.
So through turn 8, they sweep then. Robert Constantini trying to rebuild that lead. The McLaren there look up on the inside line. So the McLaren of Julius Dinnerson, penalised yesterday, goes by, gets itself up on the inside of Pedro Ibrahim. They've been trading the place really throughout the course of the race, and they're not done yet with Charlie Hart there in 8.12, also trying to buy into it. The 2 RAFA Racing by Race Lab entries, and getting elbowed out wide is Charlie Hart. Well, he's been used to that. Janetta Junior Racing has certainly taught him in the past how to cope with being elbowed off the road. He has to defend from Alex Papadopoulos coming down towards turn 11, but may have got a bit of damage out of that.
I think so. I actually think it's the same bit of bodywork that had to take off the car. So the tank tape they repaired it with overnight has gone, but you saw something fly off the car as it went through the gravel trap. Will that hurt his performance? It definitely won't help, that is for sure. The pit window now open. Does anyone box? Anyone stuck? Anyone got a faster teammate? Signoretti thought about it. He does. I thought he was faking it to the inside, but he's got a clear pit lane at the moment, but he might get boxed in because he's the first one in.
And Papadopoulos in as well to give way to the quicker Luke Ibanez. So some of the teams electing to get their gun driver in as soon as Signoretti getting out of the traffic, as there the battle goes on. Ibrahim versus Dinnerson. It was coming to the line in 8th place. It'll be higher than that now with others peeling into the pit lane ahead. So Julius Dinnerson in the white McLaren takes that lower line, but the Danish Formula 4 champion keeping Pedro Ibrahim at bay.
Yeah, and pit stops here. You can see the counters counting up. That has to be 78 seconds when it stops as they finish the line. 2 by 2 here. That is brave racing from both of them. Slight bit of contact, but clean so far. The BMW tucks in behind now and will look to try and send it down the inside into the next couple of corners.
So Pedro Ibrahim in the BMW, totally different type of GT4 car, isn't it, from the McLaren? One looks like a big touring car, one looks far more aero-friendly, but the balance of performance works such that you've got this great battle between the two. The BMW look towering over the two McLarens, one fore, one aft. Heading up now through turn 10. The pits are very busy indeed as they cycle through, and you've got Eric Evans then and Luke Ibanez much closer to him. That's been a good stop by the NM Racing team to get their quicker driver in as soon as.
Yeah, let's hope it's not too fast. Watch those counters. The first red bar, you can see Signoretti should be 78. He's over that by a second. Ibanez, he's 6/10 under. As long as they didn't use their joker yesterday, that is okay. The teams can use one joker per weekend where they can be 1 second under, and it looks like NM Racing have used it here.
Indeed so. And you can win or lose races on these pit stops, not only in terms of losing time, but being under and getting a penalty. Into the pits peels Piana. So from 5th place, Gabriele Piana in. Also in behind, by the look of it, comes Alberto Nasca. Pit lane getting much busier now. So up front, constantly leading by 1 second from Paul Petit, who we know is going to make a longer pit stop anyway because of the earlier penalty. And the race has 33 minutes, just under. Still to go here at a sunny Zandvoort now. There is the first of Borusan Automotive Motorsports BMWs. Gabriele Piana jumps out of the car. He will relay Beke Beschler. 2 years ago, remember, Gabriele Piana was the silver champion when he drove a BMW, but for the RAFA Racing by Bonk Motorsports squad. 259 comes in, having been eliminated from the race yesterday, going better today. It was Julien de Bach at the wheel of the car when it was damaged yesterday. Bas Visser brings it in, and that means that Julien will be de Bach behind the wheel now.
That is a busy pit lane, isn't it? Organised chaos. The cars are limited to 50 kilometres an hour to try and make it as safe as possible. But 50 kilometres an hour is still pretty fast when you're stood there. The McLaren still attacking Charlie Hart, trying, and there is that damage we saw as he went through the gravel trap on the corner. He was just about to exit. More cars leaving. Looks like it's been a good pit stop for the Lotus. That is much closer to that BMW than it was before the stops.
Julien de Bach leaves the pit lane as well in 259, the blue and white Cayman. And so now it's a very shuffled order with cars blending back in. And their look is going to be Beke Beschler dropping back behind Luke Ibanez. So that NM Motorsport Mercedes has had a really good run on the pit stops, perfect timing, and has gained certainly 2, maybe 3 places as a legacy of pitting at exactly the right time. The team speed car Audis remain on track. They have not made their mandatory pit stop. Jan Duran has brought the Supra in to give way to Hadrian David. I wonder whether speed car are going to bring them in on the same lap or split them a lap apart, then they've got a bit more space in the working lane.
Yeah, they will have a plan to do both. The ideal is to split it like you suggest, but I think they both look like they want to go towards the end of their run. Although Gilles Vert, the teammate of the green Audi, did do the lap record yesterday, so it's not like Paul Petit is handing over to any kind of slouch driver. Same with Consani. He's going to be handing over to Benjamin Lariche, who's been very quick this year already.
Indeed, so they had a win at Paul Ricard, home soil. So there you've got Robert Consani getting away once again from Paul Petit, despite the fact Petit was on the front row of the grid, despite the fact he led briefly early on. The gap is now widening again. They bunched up under the safety car, but the gap stretching once again as into the traffic goes Robert Consani. Now this might start to affect the game plan around number 3, because rather than have him going into traffic and risk losing time, let's get the pit stop out of the way.
Yeah, and as a driver, you'll be talking to the pit crew, you'll be saying, I can see traffic, I think we should box this lap, and that really is the driver's call. The team should be receptive to that. And a slight lockup from the Mustang going in deep there. Evans, is he going to get it stopped? He does, but that was a strange moment. We saw Kumar with lockups there as well, but the car shouldn't be able to lock up. That was a big puff of smoke. Is that a problem from the Mustang?
Keep an eye to it as the team speed car Audis come out of turn 14. Robert Consani is going to stay out then, so through the traffic he goes, and Paul Petit is going to stay out as well. So it's still the Audi 1 and 2, but Roberto Faria, look, in 3rd place, is lapping quicker than the 2 ahead of him. So Faria's Aston Martin, that's the car that he shares with Ruben Del Sart that retired yesterday. That is starting to come into the picture as far more of a threat. That's Hadrian David, the former Formula Regional racer. He's taken over from Jan Duran in the Supra that was damaged yesterday by Duran, but going nicely now. That car should be there or thereabouts at the end. It's staving off the attack as well for the moment of Eric Evans in the Mustang.
Yeah, car looks good, the balance looks nice. Toyota is always quite expressive with its body language, quite a soft car. So when it brakes, you can see the whole car pitch. And when it gets on the throttle, the whole car squats. But the positive of that is it rides the curb so well. We might get a good illustration here over the big curb on the inside. You can see the whole car hops over it and it doesn't unsettle it in the slightest. That Ginetta could potentially get in its way. Those Audis are losing time with the traffic, that's hurting them, and the 11 car has pulled off somewhere on the back straight. I'd say that's a problem, and they've done a very, very good job at not causing another full course yellow or safety car.
Yeah, he's gone for the cut through between turns 4 and 11. So that is the Pedro Ibrahim BM number 11 that has yet to serve its regulation pit stop, do the driver change. So Ibrahim, real shame that he'd been battling with those RAFA Racing McLarens, remember. Way up the curb goes constantly. Paul Petit has got through the traffic, but Roberto Faria, headlights ablaze, on a mission as he storms up now behind the Ginetta in the hands of Thibaut Mojica. So there is your race leading car. Now let's see whether Constantini is heading for the pit lane this time. The answer is yes, in he comes then. And Paul Petit is coming in as well. He commits to the inside lane earlier. Faria is right there also. So it's going to be Benjamin Lariche, Greg Gilbert and Ruben Del Sart in those 3 cars into the next stint. They're not the only ones in, because I think also you're going to have possibly Will Orton down the pit lane. So that puts Julius Dinnerson's McLaren into the lead for the moment.
Yeah, they all could have squeezed another lap if they want it with the pit window. Orton's pit entry looked awesome. He looked like he really closed up on the back of Faria. He was able to attack. Faria was kind of blindsided. Petit had to follow him. I thought Consani's looked conservative. Of course, if you enter the speed, the pit lane too fast, 51 kilometers an hour would attract a penalty. So you do have to find out the right thing. And this will be the battle for the lead. This is Duran blasting past that Ginetta. Has that lost him some time? You would say so, because that Mustang is definitely closer than the last time we saw these cars at this point of the lap, 1 minute and 45 seconds ago.
So through they turn then, the Jan Duran and Hadrien David Supra. Hadrien David at the wheel of it, ahead now of Eric Evans. And there is Benjamin Lariche then back on track. It looks as though Ruben Del Sart jumps up into second place because of the longer pit stop for Greg Gilbert's Audi with that 5-second penalty. So the order shuffles again, and it now means that in the lead of the race is Benjamin Lariche, and chasing after him is Ruben Del Sart, or is he? Let's have a look, because no, up into second place now will go Hadrien David. Third is going to be Eric Evans. Fourth is side by side, and look, Ibanez dives through. So briefly it looked as though it was good for Ruben Del Sart. Actually, they're worse off after the pit stop than before.
Imagine being Ruben Del Sart. You've just got in the car. I'm going to ease myself into the stint. Surprise! There's a Super Mustang. There's a Mercedes on my inside. Imagine waking up in the morning. You've just had a lovely night's sleep, and someone just thrown a cold bucket of water over you and then punched you in the face. That's how Ruben Del Sart has just woken up into this race.
And the lead Audi has played its joker pit stop by dint of being ever so slightly under the regulation time. There is 1 second of tolerance you can use in one race, but not twice. So now Ibanez all over the back of Eric Evans then. The NM Racing Team Mercedes on the outside line there. This, as you would anticipate, is a very, very good stint from Ibanez. Very rapid driver. Alex Papadopoulos did the opening stint, but bailed early to give Ibanez the maximum driving time, and they've worked that pit stop very, very well, it seems, because there they are in the mix now. So the lead car is the Audi of Benjamin Lariche. It's Hadrien David Supra in second place, and there Ibanez on the tail of the Mustang. Behind him, you've got Ruben Del Sart. Behind Del Sart, it is Berke Beschler. And then Stefano D'Aste going great guns in the Pro-Am leading Lotus.
Yeah, he's got some real pace after a tough qualifying. That car is flying along and looks like it could be a real contender to get somewhere near the top 6, maybe even the top 4. The Supra of David in 4th is going to go up the order now. Everyone has finished their pit stops. He will be second on the road.
That Porsche is the car that won in Am yesterday. Daniel Blickler giving it over to Max Kronberg. And Aston Miller, who was in the lead of the race, has also now come to serve the 81 mandatory pit stop. So that car in the background looked just getting ahead of the delayed Greg Gilbert. So the race is rather rapidly unravelling, isn't it, for Gilbert? There he is on the back of Aston Miller now as they come through turn 3. Greg Gilbert, who has been a French GT4 champion, twice a class champion in the European Series. Perhaps he's got the best GT4 CV of anybody, and he's going to have to really use that in this in order to salvage a result. Straight away, look, he's dropped off the back of the McLaren.
Yeah, our lap record holder from yesterday has got no pace whatsoever at the moment. Is that car going to get better? Are the tyre pressures going to come up? Is he going to get his eye in? We've got a few cars with pit stop times under investigation. We'll keep you informed if any of the top cars have penalties. I don't think they should, looking at their pit stop times though.
So now we need to be monitoring this gap, don't we, between the number 3 Audi of Robert Consonnet, the 87 Toyota Supra of Hadrien David. It was 3.3 seconds at the start of the lap. Now, Stefano D'Aste there in the Lotus, leading in Pro-Am, getting you excited.
Yes, it is, because its pit stop time is too slow. Look at the timing tower on the left, the 7th place car, the Lotus D'Aste, first car in Pro-Am. That pit stop time cannot be below 1 minute 17 using a joker. It's 0.3 of a second too fast.
So, therefore, race control will be alerted to it. That's the Pedro Ibrahim BMW limping back. We'd seen it use the cut-through. So for the Borusan Automotive team, that car crawls towards the pit lane. Big disappointment. That's going to prevent Jagish Gedik from getting a race in the car today as the leaders dive once more down towards the first corner. Remember, number 11 BMW retired yesterday as well. Got involved in an accident early on. So tough weekend for the Turkish-Brazilian partnership of Jagish Gedik and Pedro Ibrahim. Right now, 23 minutes remain, and the lead gap is 2.2 seconds. Hadrien David last time was quicker than Benjamin Lariche for the lead.
Yeah, as we see our AM class leader now with Lenidi in the car, still 18th overall. They're such a competitive AM pairing. They've got that car absolutely hooked up. Every time we see it, it's on the limit. It's using every inch and more, kicks up the dust in the face of another BMW behind. Nice psychological warfare. If you can't see where you're going, it's a little bit harder than when you can.
So the Julien Leandri BMW leading in AM from Daniel Blickler and Max Kronberg's Porsche, second in the class, as you look again at Eric Evans and Luc Ibanez. This is for third place overall and in silver. Mustang won yesterday, Mercedes right there behind. Great noises from both cars, but the Mustang just about trumps everything in this. For the race lead, quicker in Sector 1 was the Supra, quicker in Sector 2 was the R8. As there, Ford versus Mercedes AMG. Out of turn 12, Ibanez thinking about a move on the inside, but wasn't able to commit.
Yeah, it's an amazing car, that Mustang. Listen to the growl. Out of 13, it's loose in Ibanez to the inside. You can see him having to tap on the brakes because I think quite rightly Evans decided, I'm coming to the inside. Are you going to stick the nose there or not? And that's actually lost momentum now for Ibanez, thrusting the headlights, saying he's angry. I'm coming to get you, Eric Evans. The car now looking good under braking. Remember, had that lock-up early on in the stint for Evans, but Ibanez is able to place that Mercedes very tight. And look how close Bessler is to the back of Ruben Del Sarto, who's settled in well to the stint.
As indeed, fifth place then, Ruben Del Sarto. There's the change. Up the inside goes Ibanez. Wide goes Ibanez. Back up the inside goes Eric Evans. Fabulous racing this between Ford and Mercedes AMG. Eric Evans, one back, one up. So he retakes the place. Luc Ibanez has to think about it all over again then. Stays on the tail of the Mustang. They dance over that brow, don't they? Coming out of Hunsrück down towards turn 7. The road drops downhill. Fast right-hander. Curb on exit. Back of the Mustang wags this time as Ibanez tries to work out whether he can make a move at 9. He's close enough to do it. Is there a gap on the inside line for the next corner? There is. He feints to the inside, but he can't fully get up the inside. Yes, he can. Forces Eric Evans out wide. Doesn't give him much room on the outside. They touch briefly. Evans comes back on the inside of the Mustang. Ibanez on the outside line tries to stand his ground, but it's the shorter line for the Mustang, and Evans now roughs up Ibanez, gives him very little breathing space. 2 wheels on the dirt. Ibanez will have the inside line though down towards turn 11. Who's the last of the late breakers? The answer is Luc Ibanez. He goes through. He goes third.
Great move, great racing. Well, as we see a car into the gravel trap, the Aston Martin, yes, I said he'd settled in well. That is a long way in. Has he been helped? I would suggest yes, because it's hard to lose the car under braking in that dramatic fashion. I think that's going to be a full course yellow. These drivers will keep racing until the countdown. We'll let you know when race control will tell us. Here we have the yellow flag. At the moment, they only have to slow down at turn number 11.
Over the timing line then, Benjamin Lariche leads Hadrien David by 1.8 seconds. It's still game on for third. Ibanez just ahead of Eric Evans. Berke Bessler is next in the queue as they round the hairpin. In 6th place is Stefano D'Aste. with the Pro-Am leading Lotus ahead of Greg Gilver, then Aston Miller. Clement Seiler is in 9th place, and 10th it is Callum Davis and the other RAFA Racing by Racelab McLaren. We are going to go full course yellow once again. The 20-second notification has come for the teams. Joel Durval, the race director, now gives the 10-second command, and the drivers can still race, but then when the full course yellow comes, now they have to stand on the brakes and get down to that delta speed.
And if you're over the speed, as it's called, you will get a penalty, and there is already an investigation underway for the first full course yellow procedure, and there is Ruben de la Sart at the beach at Zandvoort, but not the right one, unfortunately, for him.
So the marshals go to the car, but that's well beached, as you say. We are going to have, presumably, this full course yellow develop into a safety car. 18.5 minutes of the race remain. Right, he gets it wrong under braking and then loses it. So he wasn't given a push. There was no help, either a mechanical failure, but Del Sart seemed to do that all on his own. The car did look nervous under braking, but definitely wasn't going to make the corner.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised that the rear was moving around, so he was unable, as we got another car with the problem. Really seems to rain, doesn't it? Once we get one out the way, they all go. That's the 24 JSB competition Porsche getting pushed behind, but doesn't look like too much damage on that one.
No, Vinny Beltramelli, Nico Ferrer, they were class winners at Paul Ricard in the opening race in Pro-Am, so that's a significant retirement, and that's happened coming towards turn 2. Big disappointment for Vinny Beltramelli. So right now, the cars continue under full course yellow conditions and speeds. Race control with enough to worry about at the moment, never mind looking at pit stop times, but that's in the system as well. They're always reviewed to make sure that they're done to the regulation times. So Benjamin Lariche there, Hadrien David in 2nd place in that Toyota Supra. New is Hadrien David to GT cars this year, although he did race in LMP3 last season in the Le Mans Cup. He drove prior to that in Formula Regionale, and go back to 2019, he was the French Formula 4 champion. So started off in single-seaters, deviated briefly to prototypes, now coming into GT cars.
That is Ruben. He's got out the beach well, hasn't he, to be fair to the marshals. And let's see if he boxes. He's had a problem and under braking. And if he continues, then I would suggest it was just a simple driver mistake.
There he is then, back up and running, hoiked out of the gravel. So good work by the marshals to get that car out of the gravel bed. Quite a few other incidents we understand being reviewed in race control as you look at Benjamin Lariche, then the race leader, runner-up in the Silver Championship for GT4 cars in Europe last year. Of course, has raced not only in GT4 Europe-wide, but in the French Championship as well, which is purely for GT4 spec cars. But it was single-seaters initially that he raced in Formula Renault, Formula 2 when it was the MSV single-make series. Drove briefly in the FIA GT1 World Championship. He's had a spell in Carrera Cup France as we go back to green. So we are back up and running now. The track is clear, and so everybody having to be on their toes. We're back green, we're back racing, and it is Benjamin Lariche who leads with 16 minutes to go.
That was a quick call. The drivers would have been ready. These cars are held at 80 kilometres an hour, or artificially, as you were, electronically. So they would just release the button and they can go. So it's not a long process, but if you're looking down at the dash, maybe taking a drink, that could have caught you out. It looked like these 4 cars all got going pretty evenly. Maybe the Merc has caught that Supra slightly. Lariche is 2.3 ahead at the moment. Let's keep an eye on that gap. 15 minutes remaining. They should squeeze 8 laps out of this race.
So Benjamin Lariche, Hadrien David, Luc Ibanez, the top 3, and the one driver that's happier than anybody, I guess, that was only a full course yellow is Benjamin Lariche. Had it been a safety car, gaps would have come down. He'd have been in jeopardy, but he's not. There's a big line of cars all squabbling behind him, but he does have clear track space around him. That's played out really nicely for Lariche.
But this gap has definitely shrunk to 2nd place to David. He lost, what's that, 6/10 on this lap. I think the lead gap's going to be down to 1.4, 1.5 as they cross the line. This is definitely game on. Lariche will be looking in his mirrors now as they cross the line. What is the gap? It's going to be less. It's going to be at least under, 1.5 seconds like I predicted. This is definitely game on.
And David is taking Luc Ibanez with him. Then you've got Eric Evans ahead of Beke Bejler, Ford ahead of BMW, and the Lotus is in 6th place. Stefano D'Aste then doing a good job with the delay. Greg Gilver next in the queue as there. Ibanez thinks about the inside line, gets up the inside line. They lean on each other. The Supra comes out just ahead, so the Toyota of Hadrian David keeps its second place.
Keeps trying to move, doesn't it? It doesn't keep working, but he definitely roughed up David, and maybe a bit immature would be my description of that move, because that is going to let Lariche go. I think maybe Ibanez would be better to sit behind David for a lap or two and see if that gap continues to shrink. Let him get brought up to the leading Audi and then make the move for the race lead, rather than just trying to go for second and maybe take it away the race win opportunity.
Another feint to the inside there came from Beke Beschler's blue BMW to try to get past Eric Evans, yesterday's winner. Stefano D'Este, though, is trying to haul that Lotus as far up the order as possible. We're still a bit concerned about his pit stop time, but for now, all he can do is push and push and push. He's way up the road from Stanislav Safronov, who was second in Pro-Am yesterday. Looks like he's going to be second today, and Henrik Still is third in Pro-Am, yesterday's Pro-Am winner. D'Este using the curb into 11. 13.5 on the clock as he comes out the other side, and it is Benjamin Lariche then clearing the race lead, as again with a flash of the lights, Beke Beschler tries to get up the inside of Eric Evans in that Ford Mustang, and he can't do it.
Similar looking cars, very different way they generate the lap time. The BMW very good through the corner, the aerodynamics. That Mustang straight line performance always strong, punching a big hole as Kansani looks on to the leading car of his teammate Lariche. Now the Mustang pulling away at the end of the straight. The Lotus defending there from Gilvey. I think Gilvey's going to send it all the way around the outside. Is D'Este going to give him space on the outside? So far so fair, but now the Lotus has the inside for turn number 2. Lariche squeezes him over and claims the position. Great move.
Nice racing. Greg Gilbert, massively experienced. So too Stefano D'Este, one-time Alfa Romeo European and World Touring Car racer, as you go on board again with Henrik Still, who is third in class, but he might be second in a moment, because that's the opposition ahead of him, Alexander Weintraub, who shares, as ever, with Stanislav Safronov. Nose to tail, they run into turn 3. Henrik Still, who is the pro in a Pro-Am car here, right on the tail of Safronov. And if there is anything lurking in the system for D'Este, this could be an important place to ultimately decide the win in Pro-Am. So on board with Still, over the brow, down towards turn 7. Can't make a dive up the inside there. Back onto the power. The Cayman howls its way out of turn 7 up towards the turn 8 right-hander. And then up towards 9, 10, that sort of looping right, the long hairpin at 10. Henrik Still not near enough to make a move right now, and not that far up the road either is Aston Miller, going nicely in the RAFA Racing Club by Racelab McLaren in 8th place.
Yeah, the Porsche looking pretty on its toes through the corners, but the Aston Martin not very quick at the end of the straight. Look how much we're gaining even on this short back straight. I think Henrik Still's got a chance of a move here into turn 1 next time by in 3 corners time. The Aston, big snap of oversteer there, Still now right on the bumper. He's going to feint a look to the inside here at 13, but he's really concentrating on a good exit. Pick the throttle up hard. The Aston pulls away slightly, but I think this gap is going to diminish by the end of this long straight. And I think Henrik Still's going to look to go to the inside as we hit the brakes into turn number 1.
In terms of competitive overtakes, 7 done by Julius Dinesen and Anthony de Barn. 6 were done earlier on by Pedro Ibrahim, but that's a car that's out of the race. As Still goes to the outside line into turn 1. He's ahead, but it's the longer line, so he needs to try to stand his ground, which he just about does. Whoops, contact between them, and Still gets fired off onto the dirt. That didn't look that hard an impact, but it was enough to really send Henrik Still rally crossing, and he's dropped back 3, 4, 5 lengths into turn 3 now with just under 11 minutes to go.
Yeah, because the contact was on the front right of this Porsche, that would have ripped the steering wheel out of Still's hands, and he would have had a scary moment as he would have had to readjust his fingers position to get a bit of right hand down. I thought he should have hung it to the inside. Yes, Safronov defended, but it was a late jink, and I think you're going to still pull it there. Is there any damage on that Porsche that's potentially puncture inducing? So let's have a look on board. We're trying to go round the outside. It's a difficult move, and you'll see the Aston blocks us up, and then you'll just see in 2 seconds now, bang, and we're just pushed out, and luckily the access road comes in, and we're able to get some more grip, and off we go.
So that means Hendrick's still got to try to do it all over again, as Benjamin Lariche still leads the way by just over a second. This is Eric Evans 4th, Beke Beschler 5th in the BMW, tightening the line, coming off 12, but not really able to get up the inside of the Mustang there. He tries again on the inside at 13, can't do it. And while he's stuck behind that grunt and go forward, look what's catching. Greg Gill there in the number 8 Audi, the green team speed car entry next in that queue as they come now towards the timing line once again. Benjamin Lariche leads the way. David Toyota 2nd, Ibanez Mercedes 3rd, Evans, Beschler, and then Gill there 4th, 5th, 6th as they come across the line. And now Berke Besle's got to attack and defend at the same time. He cannot afford to leave the door ajar.
10 minutes to go, lead gap down to 1.2 seconds. Henrik David in the Supra took 1/10 of a second out of him, so the gap's coming down, but slowly at the moment. What can Gilbert do here? I think there's a possible 4th place. I think he's got the pace over the BMW and Mustang in front. He will know he's only got 5 laps to do it, so he's got to make it count. The BMW kicks up some dust through the very dry, sandy section, through the dunes here, diving into 7. Huge slide on entry there for Evans. That's going to cost him some time. He gets to the apex for a second time, but look at the BMW. You can only just about see the roofline, sends it to the inside. This is going to kick off soon.
Yeah.
I think the BMW's got the job done. He needs to get to the inside, get the car stopped. Is Gilbert going to follow him through? He's not close enough. Great move.
Yeah, nicely done. Berke Besle goes by, but then goes wide, and Evans comes back at him, but he's going to be on the outside line for the corner itself. Look, and he doesn't want to leave the door open for Gilbert. So Evans now needs to try to duck back up the inside. Now we'll see who's got the grunt in a straight line. Berke Besle then, he's up in a 4th place. Eric Evans is almost level. He's on the outside line. He's back ahead as they come over the brow, but it's the outside for 11. He's going to have to cede the place, surely. He does. Gilbert wants to get up the inside, can't do it. So Eric Evans fighting absolutely for all he is worth, but in the end he has to just let that BMW go by. In terms of top speed coming through turn 14, which is the bank right-hander to which they are heading now, it is Henrik still looking very rapid, except that car has now got a problem possibly with the transponder because it's been yo-yoing up and down the order. But in terms of absolute speed, 184 kilometers an hour is the fastest of anybody. Here comes Gilbert now. Look, up the inside line. Couldn't do it. Had a long look to get past Evans. Henrik still has fought back, by the way, to get past Stanislav Safronov. So he's up into 2nd in Pro-Am, and he's hunting down that yellow Lotus, which is part of this silver battle pack. And Stefano D'Aste might get caught up in somebody else's dramas if he's not careful.
Yeah, and I think he is going to get a penalty for his pit lane stop being too short as we go on board. Still looks like a replay, but look at the speed. Safronov must have a problem there, or had a very poor exit, but he just breezes past. We're hearing Safronov gave him the position. So I'm trying to see if race control instructed that, or he decided that was morally the right thing to do after the contact at 1. But interesting there. I thought it was a fair move from Safronov to run up to the exit of 1, but still has the position.
So that puts Henrik still into 2nd place in Pro-Am. I don't think he's going to get on terms with D'Aste before the end, but he's going to give it a go, that's for sure. As you look at the lead gap once more, it was 1.2 seconds last time, the time before that. And there, Luc Ibaniev just drops off the back of Hadrian David slightly. That gap crept up in the traffic. And there's 4th place then now. Berke Besle securing that over Eric Evans. 6th is Greg Gilbert. 7th is Stefano D'Aste. And Aston Miller in 8th place in the white McLaren. So a very different order today from yesterday, but Benjamin Lariche trying to bring the Audi home for a 2nd victory of the season in silver, and therefore tally up equally with Eric Evans and Marco Signoretti, who've had 2 wins.
Yeah, it's a fair fight, and that BMW has gone now. Once he got clear, Besler has had some serious pace. Wait for him to finish this lap, and we can see where he is. The leaders all in the 44s. The Mustang struggling to get into the 45s at the moment. Just pops in a lap slightly more representative, but Gilbert is in a hurry to get past, and he should be, because he's going to get attacked from D'Aste and maybe Aston Miller in that much improved McLaren over yesterday's performance.
Yeah, going well, isn't he, Aston Miller? Stefano D'Aste then wants the class win, but equally this is a good advert for the Lotus and for his PB racing team. Stefano D'Aste is a Lotus preparer, that's his business, and a great advert for the car, for the business, to say, look, not only can we win our class, we can mix it with the silvers. You could argue that safety cars and full course yellows have helped a little bit in doing all of that, but the pace is very impressive right now.
Yeah, for sure. The pace of David is not so impressive. That gap has grown to 1.7 seconds now, and he has a Banyev all over the back of him. 3/10 behind. We saw them have a bit of contact. I think we're coming in for a bit more at the moment. Lariche seems to have been settled down in his pace, and I think he'll be feeling quietly confident with less than 5 minutes to go. Someone that won't be confident is that Supra. I think Ibanez has got a chance here of getting 2nd place.
So down to the braking zone comes Benjamin Lariche. Ibanez, you're right, has caught back up again onto the tail of GT4 newcomer, Adrien David, only his fourth race in a GT4 car. There you've got behind him Luc Ibanez, who knows this car, knows the format of GT4 racing very, very well. He's been a regular race winner over the seasons, and the NM Racing Team Mercedes AMG comes now up towards turn 14 with 4.5 minutes on the clock and counting, so we're going to get 2 more laps. Lariche goes through, and that second place fight is just what he needs, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really going to hand it to him. He'll be able to just take out some of the energy out of it, look after the tyres and the brakes. That Supra darting around under braking doesn't look as confident as that Mercedes behind it. Is Ibanez going to have another look into turn 3 as they sweep into 2? Is he going to pop it to the inside here and send it down the inside? I think David blocked that off. He saw that as an option, runs up wide, right up to the white line. Track limits just about okay there at turn 3 for that Supra.
And if you have a look at that Silver Cup Mercedes of Luc Ibanez, that graphic showing the place he's gained since Ibanez took it over in the pit window, getting the car up the order. So nice job done by the very rapid Spanish driver, and a bit of traffic now for Adrien David to have to get past. That is the Julien Ripper Audi that's got a problem as well. Puncture, yes, rear left. So Julien Ripper limping on to the end of the lap. And effectively, that's going to be the end of the race. As now, second and third go side by side. Finally, Ibanez is close enough to make a move. Couldn't go around the outside at turn 10, but he's up the curb as they come through the corner. But he wasn't able to level with the Supra coming off the bend. So it means he's going to have to try again. He's not able to stay alongside the long-nosed Toyota coming down towards turn 11. But the Mercedes is now looking ever more ominous for that second place.
Yeah, the Supra looks loose on exit, doesn't look great on the brakes, and isn't able to carry that much speed through the corner. But apart from that, he should be okay, David. But Ibanez here, I think the only thing he could do is a bit more top speed. But as he gets closer, the slipstream effect is going to get higher and higher. And I don't think it's going to be this lap into 1. He hasn't had a great run through the final sector of this lap. And at the moment, David will be looking at the clock to go, going, I've got 2 more laps to hang on here. Can I do it?
Down they come then through Tarzan. 87 is the Toyota of Adrien David. And they're the race leader, building the lead nicely now. 3 seconds to the good is Benjamin Lariche. Last year, they had bad luck or no luck. This year, it has been a much, much better start to the season for them. And a second victory of GT4 European Series beckons over the Matmut Evolution Toyota there of Adrien David, and then the NM Motorsport Mercedes in third place in the hands of Luc Ibanez, taking over from Alex Papadopoulos. Now we are getting confirmation of pit stops being too short, and one of them is Stefano D'Aste. Now he is going to get a 12-second time penalty for the pit stop being too short. Now, is D'Aste 12 seconds ahead of Hendrik still? The answer is no.
It's a big shame for that team. Complete D'Aste for them. And as Ibanez looks to the inside, he is going to be jinking all over the place. And David is going to have his eyeballs on stalks to see where that Mercedes is going to go. They're going to run side by side, but it is favour Supra. Next corner is a right-hander.
Mercedes to the outside, Toyota to the in. Luc Ibanez running out of options, so he's got to commit this time. But again, wrong line for 11. It's the right line for 12, but he's behind anyway, so it matters not. He takes that tighter line up the curb and very wide on exit as well. So the race leader will be through, Benjamin Lariche, in a moment to start the last lap. Then less than a lap time left in the race. Adrien David is in second spot. Third remains Luc Ibanez, nose to tail. They have been for much of this stint. And Adrien David, you've got to say, has certainly learnt the art of GT4 racing in a short space of time. Been a good defence. Ibanez has another flash of the headlights. There's Berke Beschler fourth, getting away. Eric Evans fifth. Greg Gilbert sixth. Seventh on the road is Stefano D'Aste, who goes by, but we need to see the gap at the end of this next and final lap between him and Hendrik Still to know what the outcome of Pro-Am will be.
At the moment, Still is going to win this race by 2 seconds because of that 12-second penalty for this car. As you can see on the screen, bodywork strewn across the track. It's been an aggressive car. It's a big, odd snap of oversteer for the Mustang. It's like the rear right shock absorber just decided to go on holiday, and it just fell over itself. Looks okay though, so hopefully they can limp it to the end. They thought they had a gearbox problem towards the end of the race yesterday and just about got that car for a win. But yeah, here is D'Aste. I wonder if he is aware, if the team has said so. This gap needs to be over 12 seconds for him to win. What's going to be that's going to stop now as he crosses the sector 9.5. He's going to lose by 2.5 seconds at the moment.
So Stefano D'Aste then getting this information from the team very, very late, because that's when it was issued by race control. So he doesn't have too many options in terms of being able to push to open up that gap. There, though, second and third is not done yet. Benjamin Larouche and Robert Constantine look good for the win. That's the easy part. Ibanez is about to have one last go here, but is he near enough down towards the chicane? He isn't. Hadrian David is going to turn around 40th place yesterday into second place today, seemingly. But ahead of all of them, Benjamin Larouche and Robert Constantine lead the way. 2 corners to go. The pace of the BMW of Beke Bechler in the background, having taken it over from Gabriele Piana, is impressive because he's a much closer fourth than earlier on. But Race 4 of GT4 European Series, powered by RAFA Racing Club, won by the Team Speed Car Audi. Robert Constantine and Benjamin Larouche win at Zandvoort. Hadrian David and Jan Durand take second. Third to Luc Ibanez and Alex Papadopoulos, with fourth going the way of Beke Bechler and Gabriele Piana. Then Eric Evans staves off the challenge of Greg Gilbert. Stefano D'Aste comes through. This is Hendrik Still, and as he breaks the timing beam, we await the gap, and he is going to do it on corrected times. That is close enough to the Lotus to be able to jump ahead with the time penalty applied. We'll await confirmation from timing and scoring from Swiss Timing, but although Stefano D'Aste has won it on the road, Hendrik Still is within the 12 seconds that he needs.
Still streaming over the finish line, trying to get those final positions, and yeah, great job by David in that Supra. I thought he might have his days numbered, but he got his elbows out and has done a mega job. These guys have done the most mega job by winning the race. Good start from Kasani. Obviously the penalty for the sister car really cemented the win for them.
Yeah, Hadrian David, Luc Ibanez, that big battle for second place. In the end, it was 7/10 of a second. And you're looking at Robert Constantine and Benjamin Larouche's Audi. There is the Toyota just nipping through on the inside of Hadrian David, who was certainly very, very good at defending. It did look on more than one occasion as though Luc Ibanez was going to breach Hadrian's wall, but it just wasn't to be. And the Toyota comes out for second place. And Hendrik Still, having had a good weekend, the message will get through to him, I'm sure, in a moment, that that's 2 out of 2 this weekend in Pro-Am.
Yeah, and he gives you the love heart for all the nice comments you say about him. So, yeah, I can't wait to see Joachim Bolton's reaction here. He will be over the moon, even more than usual. Probably the biggest character on the grid that we've been involved with so far. But yeah, super slow in lap, try and save a bit of fuel, get the pickup, all the standard procedural stuff that the teams will be reminding the drivers. The pickup so important in GT racing for the ride height more than anything else. There's a minimum ride height these cars have to be at. The teams are aiming at a millimetre or 2 because there's so much performance in the ride height. If you go too high, to be conservative, you're not fast enough to win. So there's no...
And Daniel Blickler, who won yesterday, and then Igor Sorokin and Keith Gatehouse coming home third in their Mercedes AMG. As ever in GT4, an awful lot to talk about, and I know we had a few incidents along the way, but you just get the feeling that driving standards have improved massively in the last 4 or 5 seasons or so, because the racing is hard, it's fair, but it's a lot cleaner than it used to be.
I would say everyone's been pretty fair. It's been hard at times, but majoritarily fair. There'll be a couple of penalties like we saw for the BMW, but yeah, these guys will be super happy. They've kept their powder dry all weekend, have been fast, consistent, good pit stops as well from the team. So well deserved for them, and they will be ready for a well-deserved drink.
Robert Constantine doing the opening stint, Benjamin Larouche bringing the car home, and it's a combination that has just worked so well together for a number of seasons now, both in French GT Championship races, which is for GT4 only, and of course in the GT4 European Series. Team Speed Car knows this Audi R8 inside out, and at times last year there was only this one Audi on the grid, but they've come back stronger numerically this year, and Benjamin Larouche, as you can see, is a very happy man indeed. We will no doubt hear from him in due course, as there is rather disappointed Lotus pairing. Podium good, second step not so good.
Yeah, great that they still got a second position. They're actually less than 0.2 of a second ahead of the third place car, Safronov, so that was lucky for them. But yeah, they could have won that race if the pit stop was right.
And there with his back to you is Joachim Bolting, who's had a faster haircut for this weekend. That is his circus liveried Porsche, and no doubt it will be a delighted Joachim Bolting that we will hear from in due course. Hendrik gets out of the car. Hendrik still. Joachim is there to congratulate him. So 2 out of 2 this weekend. Perfect result. And some very, very happy drivers there in Parc Fermé, including Anthony Deban and Jean-Mathieu Leandre. And you can see how much this means to Hendrik still, because now we're going to celebrate on top of the car, having had 2 out of 2. Benjamin Lariche, Robert Constantin are our race winners, though. Let's go and hear from them, because Alex has managed to catch up with them.
Our GT4 European Series Race 2 winners, and my goodness me, what a race it was. Benjamin, talk us through those last few laps from your perspective.
Yeah, it was not easy because with the Audi and the tire degradation, you have to find the good balance between attack and manage the tires. And I think I find the better balance, the better balance between attack and manage. And at the end, it was okay. The 2 or 3 laps, I was scared about the degradation, but it was okay because Robert and me at the start of my stint, it was okay. It was okay. So when I remember 4 years ago when we were P20 or P25, we have to say big thank you to our team Speedcar. They did an amazing job, and it's a very good operation for the title, for the championship. So perfect weekend.
Yeah, a brilliant weekend. Robert, you started so well, and it feels like it's making up for what was a very difficult year last year.
Yes, like Benjamin say, you make a very good job until the beginning with a speed car and Benjamin. I miss my start, but I make a strong stint. I try to manage the tire, but it's easy when you are first. You need to find a good line to brake in the good point and don't make too much angle on the steering wheel. But it's okay. I'm very afraid at the end because I see the same driver like Paul Ricard back our car. So no, it's a very brilliant finish. I'm very happy. He make a very good job.
Yeah, well done, and what a strong defence this is turning into be.
It's certainly shaping up nicely for the championship, isn't it? And fascinating season is still to come. Robert Constantin, Benjamin Lariche then taking a 2nd victory of the season. And no clear pattern yet as to whether it's a Mustang or an Audi that is the faster brand, the car to have. So as the drivers make their way to the podium, Adrien David and Yann Duran having a better result today for 2nd, Ricky Vanieff for 3rd, along with Alex Papadopoulos. Right, we always like to hear from Hendrik Still and Joachim Bolting. They've won Pro-Am yet again.
I come over to congratulate these boys and they say, no, if you don't want the interviews, then you're just going to have to stop winning. My goodness me. Henrik, Joachim. All right, you breathe. Talk us through your stint. That was great.
Was a good start. I took some of the cars directly in the first corner, and the first 2 laps I think I could have overtaken 6 or 7 cars, also in our class, so I can get to Henrik the car. I think it was in the 4th position. We started in the 7th or 8th, so that it was possible for him then to get the first place. But we have luck at the end of the race because the Lotus get 12 seconds of penalty, and so we won again.
You won again. And you. I'm not surprised that you are exhausted because that was a tough stint, wasn't it? But like you say, you maximised on the disappointment for Daste. Talk us through.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. Joe did already a great job from P33 overall to P25. I mean, he was clever driving. Some crashes, we were a bit lucky to be out of this. Joe did a mega job. And I get the car on P4 in the class already, and then, I mean, I was just flying through the field. We have such a pace this week, and I don't know where it come from. I mean, team did an amazing job. We saw it already in the qualifying. We are on the pace here in Zandvoort. So, and now we're looking forward, to come as championship leader to Spa.
Yeah, it's certainly looking like a very strong year. Well done, boys.
Thank you. Thank you.
So as the very happy Pro-Am winners make their way to the podium, another chance to have a look at the charismatic livery that Joachim Bolting's W&S Motorsport Porsche 718 Cayman has adorning the bodywork. And they are making the very successful assault on the championship this year, because that now is a third victory out of 4 races. They had 1 win at Paul Ricard and 2 here. It's also been a Porsche that's won the 4th race, in fairness, Vinny Beltramelli, whose car retired early on with Nico Farraran as the co-driver. But the cards on the back of the Porsche have been played right again on the strategy. The podium awaits then, as the winning drivers from Silver and Pro-Am, and indeed Am, will make their way there. Trophies, presenter, announcements to be made, and the GT4 European Series teams now have a little bit of time to gather their thoughts before they are back on track at Spa. And GT4 around Spa is always dramatic, no question about it. So the drivers are ready, and now we can have the drivers call forward for the Silver Cup podium, with Alex Papadopoulos second onto the podium behind Luc Ibanez, his teammate. The NM Racing Team drivers. The NM has been on track himself this weekend. Neil Montserrat racing in GT2. Hadrien David, Jan Duran make their way onto the podium for the Matmut Evolution Toyota Supra team. For Team Speed Car, it is a second win of the season for the drivers Robert Constany and Benjamin Lariche. It is a second victory of the season, as out they come. The 2 silver-graded drivers, very, very rapid indeed. Robert Constany, after a rallying background. Robert Constany, Benjamin Lariche has been racing for many, many seasons, successfully so. They are a great double act in GT4. And for Team Speed Car, it is a win here at Zandvoort. So the trophies now brought forward, and a very, very happy Team Speed Car, especially given that championship rivals Eric Evans and Marco Signoretti were that little bit further back in the pack, only 5th, so giving away some points. Adrien David and Jan Duran's expressions are somewhat mixed, but a second place is certainly a good result after yesterday's travails. Team Speed Car, very happy indeed. And Robert Constany and Benjamin Lariche not only await their trophies, but await the champagne as well to round out the weekend in style. The Audi drivers victorious here, and the second Team Speed Car entry in 6th place. The 3rd car that Julien Ripper had the puncture with pitted and did not get back out, so that car a retirement with not just tyre damage, possibly some suspension damage as well. So the drivers on the podium, they've got the trophies. The next stop for GT4 European Series will be the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa, the last weekend of June. Come and join. Robert Constany drenches Benjamin Lariche. He might regret that in a moment if Benjamin has enough left in the bottle. Luc Ibanez is there. Robert Constany gets a face full and an eye full of the champagne, but when you're a race winner, you don't tend to care.
It still does sting though when you get it right in the eyes, and yeah, luckily it's the end of the weekend. Those suits will get thrown in the kit bag and then swept.
In other words, accelerating and braking repeatedly at the end of a safety car procedure, and the 5-second penalty allowed Eric turn on 10 up on Jan Duran and Hadrien David. Alex Papadopoulos and Luc Ibanez are in touch in 4th. 5th, Ricardo van der Ende, Benjamin Lassène after a bad day today. Gabriele Piano and Beke Bechler are rounding out the top 6 ahead of Paul Petit and Greg Gilbert. So it's a healthy advantage for Benjamin Lariche and Robert Constany. They kept fighting last year to the very, very end, going into the last races in Jeddah, fighting against Tom Leben and Josh Rattican. In the end, it was Josh Rattican, Tom Leben who won in silver. This year, Tom Leben has moved on to race in GT3 machinery elsewhere, but Josh Rattican having a much, much tougher season. The Elite Motorsport McLaren just cannot catch a break.
It was so unlucky. There was nothing the driver could have done. I don't think it would have been completely blindsided as Cresswell came round the chicane. It'll be big damage as well. They have to get that car back and see what repairs are needed, and that would definitely hurt their testing plans in between here and the next race.
So our second podium awaits here at a sunny, if windy, Zandvoort. And the drivers will be called forward in a moment for the Pro-Am podium. There, Stanislav Safronov, Alexander Weintraub, regulars on the podium. They were second yesterday, but third today. Second place goes the way of Alberto Nasca and Stefano D'Este. They won on the road. They are second on corrected time, and they're still very happy about that. So they may not have been winners, but they're on the podium, and the pace of the Lotus enough to give real optimism. But if you think they're happy, you wait till Henrik Still and Joachim Bolting arrive, because that's 2 out of 2 this weekend. It's 3 out of 4 this season. W&S Motorsport have done it again. Pro-Am winners are Joachim Bolting and Henrik Still. They jump up to the top step of the podium and know exactly what comes next, because that's win number 3 for the German team. The national anthem for W&S Motorsport was the winning team. Now the drivers await their trophies. They go first to the third place drivers, because it's always done in reverse order. So Stanislav Safronov, Alexander Weintraub receive their awards there. Alberto Nasca, Stefano D'Este. Delighted, I think, with that. I'll say, despite the fact they lost the win with that time penalty, delighted, I think, still to be on the podium anyway. And they're the winners. The Porsche crew of Joachim Bolting, Henrik Still, winners yesterday, winners today. That's going to really help even more in the championship. But Pro-Am is bubbling along nicely this year.
Yeah, I'd still like to know if Safronov just gave that place off his own back with the contact with Still. I didn't see any race control messages, but he probably let Still go. I thought it was hard, fair racing, but maybe his moral compass is pointing more northerly than mine. Perhaps thinking he'd give that penalty back rather than risk a penalty for the contact, but as you said at the time, it was just hard racing. Anyway, the net result is that they are third, and eventually corks come from the bottle. So there you have a combination of Fizzy and Still, Champagne and Henrik Still on the podium. And for Henrik, a third victory of the season. He and Joachim Bolting making this excellent combination. As in the championship, look at this, 40 points the advantage that Henrik Still and Joachim Bolting have over Stanislav Safronov and Alexander Weintraub. Tough weekend for the Schubert Motorsport BMW drivers, Joachim Valder and Victor Bouveng, so they drop back to third now. Alberto Nasca and Stefano D'Este are up to fourth, ahead of Mathieu Detry and Fabien Duffieux, with sixth Cindy Goudet and Gabriela Yurkova. Retirement in that race, putting Nico Farrarin and Vinny Beltramelli down to seventh. It illustrates, doesn't it, what a well-drilled team that knows the car, lots of experience can do, and Joachim Bolting benefiting from the tutelage of Henrik Still. Yep, and he's a very quick AM already, and he'll get better as the year goes on as well, I'm sure. But you've got to take the luck while it's with you, is what I would say in motorsport. At the moment, they're riding a very good wave, and I hope it continues. But to build a championship, you now need to cement some decent results, and that's what they're doing. But you've got to realise it's going to go against you at some point, so you've got to have the peace of mind to let it roll.
Take the points when they are available. Joachim Bolting and Henrik Still. Right, the AM podium awaits, where win number 3 of the season for Julien Leandri and Anthony de Barn is the main talking point, ahead of Max Kronberg and Daniel Blickler, third in the class, having gone the way of the number 88 Mercedes of Keith Gatehouse and Igor Sorokin. They make their way to the podium. There are Daniel Blickler, Max Kronberg. Max, last year's Pro-Am champion with Henrik Still, but a change of tack this year. Rather than being, if you like, the second driver, he is the team leader. He's done a bit more racing than Daniel Blickler, but they've made a good combination. Winners yesterday, second today, as Anthony de Barn and Julien Leandri make their way onto the podium. And it seems to be a feature when they win that members of the family come along as well.
Yeah, obviously his son's not as favoured as the daughter who was on the podium yesterday, so yeah, taking it in turns, and yeah, what a nice experience for the children.
Julien Leandri and Anthony Debarn, the AM category winners, as Eric Vages of Circuit Park Zandvoort steps forward with the trophies for the third placed drivers. Igor Sorokin, Keith Gatehouse taking a podium finish. Then for second spot, the trophies go the way of Daniel Blickler and Max Kronberg. Another good weekend for them in terms of points, a win and a second. And for Anthony Debarn and Julien Leandri, it is win number 3 of the season in that almost all-conquering BMW. The trophy is held aloft, and then we have champagne ready to go, depending on how courageous everybody feels and how wet they want to get. But yes, Daniel Blickler is up for the fight, and for the winning team, the Chazal Technology Course squad, there's a proper soaking.
Looking at the child, he's living dangerously by staying on the podium, and all of those drivers much nicer than I would have been if I were there.
He's also got a weapon in his hand, though, so spray him too much and that trophy might come in your direction. So Julien Leandri and, sorry, Jean-Mathieu Leandri, I should say, and Anthony Debarn taking the win with the BMW quite a long way up the road in the end. In terms of championship points, Jean-Mathieu Leandri, Anthony Debarn now clear of Max Kronberg and Daniel Blickler. Igor Sorokin and Keith Gatehouse third from Philippe Talani and Julien Ripper. Stefan Nielsen and Mats Olsen are fifth ahead of the Brunhagens, Mikael and Christopher in sixth. A great GT4 European Series race 2 began with Audi's side-by-side at turn 1, and it was Paul Petit in the green Audi that took over the race lead, going around the outside. Ultimately, though, he was given a 5-second penalty for a start infringement. There was a bit of contact between the Marco Signoretti Mustang and Will Orton's Mercedes. Bigger contact did for Guy Albag around the lap, as he was rather harpooned by Benjamin Lessen. The Porsche spun around and was then whacked by Mackenzie Cresswell's McLaren that went for a gap that was just not quite wide enough. With debris on the road, that stopped the race. When we got back up racing, it was another Audi squabble, and into the lead went Robert Consoni, moving ahead of his teammate, who would fall further back on the pit stops with the extra time to serve. More drama, more Porsches in trouble. Gustavo Xavier into the gravel with a bit of help. As into the pit lane came Marco Signoretti to relay Eric Evans. They'd won yesterday's race and they got involved in a big battle. Eric Evans taking on Luc Ibanez, who eventually did manage to find a way past the Ford Mustang and then set off in pursuit of Hadrien David Toyota Supra for second place. Another interruption though came when Ruben Del Sart put himself firmly in the gravel. Contact was made between Stanislav Safronov, Alexander Weintraub's Aston and Henrik Still's Porsche. Henrik Still was able to get back through into second place, an apologetic Aston Martin letting him go, and with a time penalty to Stefano Daste's Yellow Lotus, that gifted the Porsche the win. Good move by Berke Beschler. He was up the inside of the Mustang and would get himself up into fourth place, as through all the drama came Robert Consoni and Benjamin Lariche for win number 2 of GT4 European Series. Next stop is Spa.